Okay, in this video, I'm going to talk about 3 things that I really like about the new Mac Studio display. One thing that I thought was not that great, but not that bad. One thing that I don't think is important at all. And one thing that I really dislike about that new monitor. Hello, my name is Lee, and you are my VIP, and I'm a software engineer by day and YouTuber in my part-time. And on this channel, we talk about tech news and reviews. And today, we're going to talk about the new Mac Studio display. So let's get right into it and talk about the 3 things that really impressed me. The first thing is the build quality. The first impression of this monitor really wowed me. In a world where monitors are mostly made of plastic and all kind of look the same black slab, I really like the unique design of this Mac Studio display. It's a super futuristic sleek design with metal, and it's got perforations for both cooling and speakers, and it just looks great in any setting that you could really put it in. The second thing that really impressed me was the sound quality. So I moved here recently and I'm trying to figure out how to make this space feel more like home, and I didn't know how big of a role audio plays in making a space feel like home. When I started playing music on this guy, I was so blown away by how good it was, because up until then I was just listening to music on my phone or my computer speakers and it just can't do it justice. Versus listening to it on the new display, it filled the room so nice and warmly. And the third thing that I really like about that display is the seamless connectivity to all Apple products, especially for things like brightness. On my previous monitors, I had to really fidget around with the buttons and find the right combination to get into the menu system, and it was always such a pain. But on this one, I can just press the up brightness on the keyboard like I would with any other Mac product, and I love how seamlessly that works. So now let's move on to one thing that wasn't really impressive, but wasn't the downside either, and that was the actual display itself. Because don't get me wrong, I love that display. It's crisp, it's clean, it's beautiful, but I kind of wish it had 120 hertz. In the world where we are now upgrading to Apple Pro Motion on the iPhone Pro, on the iPad lineup, even the new MacBook Pro lineups, it kind of sucks that a $1,600 monitor doesn't also have Pro Motion display. One thing that I don't think is important at all is the webcam. Now, they did talk about how it's a 1080p webcam and it has center stage so that when it works with Zoom, it can follow you around. I just have a virtual background on my Zoom anyways, and I think it's kind of weird that it tracks you. And Zoom does so much image quality compression that no one on the other side can tell if I'm using a 1080p camera or the last gen 720p. They just kind of look the same. If anything, I wouldn't have cared if they cut costs on giving you a slightly less good webcam and had put in more resources into something else, or like an adjustable height stand. And speaking of that, let's finally move on to the thing I like the least about this new display, and it is the freaking price. It is so expensive. And for $1,600, the fact that you can't even adjust the height of it is really ridiculous. What am I gonna do? Stuff it with old coding books that I have lying around? That's not really gonna fit in with the sleek aesthetic that they're going for. So, is this monitor for you? Should you go out and spend your hard-earned bucks to get this new studio monitor? Well, in order to answer that question, I'd like to tell you a short story. So when I first moved to New York, one of the first lessons I learned was that if you can afford it, why not? If you can afford to take a cab home instead of the subway, why not? If you can afford to go to Equinox instead of the other crappy gym, why not? This monitor, it really reminds you of that. Hey, if you have extra money lying around and you can afford to spend $1,600 on just a monitor, why not? Go for it. Now, for a fraction of the price, you can find monitors that do 90% of what this monitor can do. You can find a 27-inch monitor that has 4K, even though it's not 5K, but who can tell the difference between 5K and 4K anyways? I can barely tell the difference between 4K and 1080p. So you can find a 4K monitor with a USB-C display, with some speakers are probably going to be not as good, but you have other solutions for speakers, and like you can make it work, but it's not going to have that like shiny Apple ecosystem where everything's functioning smoothly together. So those are kind of the trade-offs. But for most of us out there, you don't need all this has to offer. In fact, I'm going to return this because it's so damn expensive, and I picked up just another 27-inch 4K Samsung monitor, and it's probably gonna do me just as good. I don't think it's worth 5 times more expensive to get one of these. So yeah, that has been my review of the new Mac Studio monitor. If you have any questions, I really appreciate hearing from you, my community, so write down a comment on any questions you might have about this monitor. Okay, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next one.